So this day last week, you guys were second in the table, 2 points behind Peamount. Peamount went 2-0 up against Galway at the weekend. Does that news filter through to you guys? Do you know the score in the game?
I knew it was 2-2 at half time. I hadn't known they were 2-0 up. I think like Jessie ran past me about 5 minutes ago before half time. It was just like, it's 2-2, and I was like, I don't care. And then at half time, it was kind of like, the elephant in the room. Nobody was really talking about it. But like a 2-0 lead for us it's good, but it's always not a nice one. So we just knew that we had to go out there and try and get another goal and finish the game off. And look, we needed the 3 goals in the end up. Wexford came back quite strongly in the last 15 minutes. So we had so many supporters there at the game. There was all the kind of ultras, as we call them, that would go to the men's game, were there. So I remember at one stage, there was probably like 15 minutes to go or 10 minutes to go. We had a corner, but like the crowd was just going insane. And then Kylie Murphy actually turned around to me and was like, "Are Galway beating Peamount?" And I was like, "I think so." So at that stage, like, it's funny to even try and remember. Like, I knew that like Peamount were clearly winning because the fans were going crazy. But for us, it was just focusing on just, we need the 3 points here. So like, don't get carried away.
So you guys only win 3-2 in the end. The scoring sequence, you were 2-0 up at half time, is that right?
Yeah, 2-0 up at half time, and then I think we scored in the 48th minute, 47th minute. Jessie Stapleton again, and then they scored their first, so maybe around the 57th minute, and then their second was the 86th. So we had 2 minutes of extra time in the second half, so we had 6 minutes to try and just lock up shop, which we did, and it was just class. It was.
Was that nerve wracking, or was it actually calm enough? The last 6 minutes.
No, it would like. I think it was pretty nerve-wracking because I think, Ellen Malloy had been quiet all game, but you just give Ellen like 2 yards of space and she can ping one top corner. So we were just the concentration levels. I really, to be honest, had zoned everything out. And even so, when the final whistle went, like Pearl Slattery hit the deck and everybody was on top of her, and I was just screaming, being like, "Did we actually win? Like, can I see it for real? Because I don't really believe it right now, even though everybody's going crazy."
Because I think 2 weeks out, everybody had just penciled in Peamount. They're kind of a machine over the last couple of years. You expect them to be able to see it out. They had 2 opportunities to do it and they just couldn't get it done. So heading into the final game, did you think it was possible that they were beginning to tie up, that there was a bit of pressure on them? Were you beginning to dream at least?
Not really, to be honest. Like, on Friday nights, we train Friday nights before the games, and like, we were all kind of talking about it and just even figure out like what would have to happen. And then Rachel Graham just walked past me. She's like, imagine if we did win. And we just both kind of laughed. But no, nobody had planned for us to win. Like internally, like I had nothing with me. I was ready. My brother and his girlfriend had come up to surprise me for the day. So they literally arrived around 11 o'clock. We headed out to host for lunch, watch Ireland beat New Zealand, and then just headed to the game. I had said we'd all get a takeaway and chill out for the night when it was over. And, the plans quickly changed as the game evolved. But for me, I was like, thank you so much for coming up, because I didn't even think of the game. Like, just headed off for the day and then just went and played. It was perfect.
It's mad, really. Like, I would say that the way in which it happened makes the title itself so much sweeter.
Absolutely. And like, even for the likes, I came back in last year, but Pearl, Noelle, Rachel, like Rebecca Cray, they're like, 5 years since the club have won. Those girls have been pushing, working so hard to get the club back to league champions. So like, yeah, I just think it meant so much to everyone. Like, there was grown men crying, women, like there was just so much happening afterwards. And then it was just even the drama of it. We were like, are they, somebody's got that trophy in a taxi heading over to, Shels. But then what happened if Wexford had scored a last minute winner? It would have had it was just I would have loved to see a GoPro camera if whoever was carrying the trophy.
So what do the plans then change to if you ditched the spice bag after that point? What then how did you celebrate, I guess, on Saturday?
Well, Tulka's lovely. So we have a clubhouse kind of bar situation in Tulka. So like, we were on the pitch I think till after 10:30, and then family and friends, and we all just went back to Tulka and just had a night's crack, and it was just so lovely, because even like Noel King's pretty much whole family were there. I was just delighted to have some family up, and yeah, look, just spirits were so good and so high, and I think it's incredible, because even this whole week now, just everybody is in good form. Like, training last night, everyone was buzzing. the cup final now is no longer the be-all and end-all of the season. It's kind of like an added bonus. So I think from our performance, we played really well on Saturday. We've just won the league, so confidence is high. We're all injury-free. Everybody's back available. So, like, everybody's just looking forward to the week.
It's funny, isn't it? The cup final, an add-on, an added bonus. But actually, it's cup final too. It feels like you're going to be able to relax into it in a way. I don't know how you've played in loads of big games in different sports before. Like, building up to a one-off match like that, it won't be quite the same as last week. There won't be a surprise visit to take your mind off it. You'll be thinking about the cup final all week.
Yeah, and like, it's not ideal playing Wexford the week before, but like, we know that, on Sunday it's going to be a completely different game. Like, Wexford, I think, they just didn't show up there on Saturday, even though they started to gain a good bit of momentum in the last 20 minutes. So, like, we know how dangerous Wexford can be. We know the quality of some of their players and just how much of a team they are together. So, look, Sunday's going to be a completely different ball game. It's cup final, nerves, the whole occasion, everything, Tallaght Stadium, crowds. Like, everybody knows anything can happen in a cup game, but we're just going to go out with the same preparation as before and just prove that we are league champions and hopefully cup champions by the end of the week.
Ciara, you were part of a really talented underage Ireland team that finished, I think, runners up in the Euros and quarter final in the World Cup with the under-17 squad, and a couple of your teammates from that are obviously still with the national side. Around about that time, though, you were also playing, was it basketball for Ireland and inter-county for Donegal?
Well, never basketball for Ireland, but basketball for Ulster at several stages. But like playing a lot of sports growing up, and even went back to play Donegal there about 4 years ago as well, for almost two full seasons. Donegal, as we say, it's on the edge of the world. There wasn't too much underage soccer structures when I was growing up, and Gaelic really was kind of the elite sport, and the training, everything was much better. So I would have played with boys Ballyrane team until I was under 16s, and then joined a senior women's team at 16. But just the standard wasn't good enough. So when you were training in Donegal, it was kind of like here, and then going up to international was a massive jump up. So at that time, Noel King was also my manager, and he gave us full kind of permission to go play Gaelic because he knew the training was very good. But as I say to some of the younger girls now, when say if somebody asked me for advice and what to do, it was a different kind of time, even though it was only like 10 years ago. Soccer now has gotten so much more elite fitness levels, training, everything. It's harder to do both when you're trying to play at two top levels of Gaelic and soccer. Like, girls are having to make decisions a little bit younger now of what sport they want to pursue because there's too many clashes. I personally, I know I'm a little bit older now, but when I hear of some of the girls going off and playing a Gaelic match on a Sunday after a match, it's baffling. I'm like, how did I used to play 2-3 games a weekend? Like, you just can't do it forever.
What changed, do you think, in the last 10 years? Why has the standard raised so quickly in women's football, soccer? Quickly probably isn't the best word. Like, it's taken its time. Yes, standards haven't got better, but I think if you look across all women's sports in Ireland, media coverage is a huge thing, because once more people are looking, more money's being invested. And I know money's not the be all and end all, but you just can't compare an amateur setup to a professional setup. If you look in the Premiership, you look at any league across any sport, what team often, not always, is doing the best? The team with the most money, because they can invest in the proper facilities, proper training, proper staff. And I think that's slowly creeping into the women's game. You even see it in the League of Ireland, the men's, like the Shamrock Rovers and Dundalk before this season. But it's the clubs that can attract the bigger players, put in the right money in the right places. But I think the momentum based off Scotland and England is definitely trickling over. The success of the women's national team, things like that, are just raising the standards. Like, you see, 16, 17-year-olds now well able to compete at senior level because they're in better condition, and they're able to. So it's great to see. And these young ones coming up, there's so many of them in all the teams.
You know, so it's a great momentum, and it's credit to people, you know, working with teams underage as well.
When you were coming up through underage systems, Ciara, across multiple different sports, was there much of a difference, say, between soccer and football and Gaelic football in terms of facilities, in terms of access, and in terms of your ability to achieve when you compare those two sports?
Growing up, maybe, you know, Gaelic has a strong hold in more rural places, I think, than kind of urban. There's a lot more, you know, not awareness, but there's a lot more community-based kind of structures. So even at county levels, we might have had a backroom staff of 8 or 9 people at our under 14 Donegal team. And then you go to your under 14 Donegal women's soccer team, and, you know, there might be 2 or 3 coaches who are covering 3 or 4 teams, all volunteers. But the comparison of like the number of volunteers in soccer and Gaelic was starkly different to underage. And then when I went back to play with Donegal at the end of 2018, I was blown away by, you know, Maxi Curran and his backroom staff. Like, I think there was 10 to 12 staff. We had nutritionists, psychologists, sports scientists. We had food after every training. Expenses were covered, you know, not fully, but part of it. We had, you know, kind of online apps of gym. You had all sports scientific based fitness tests. We had GPS data, heart rate monitors. And to be honest, it was the most professional environment I've ever been involved in for like a season. And then, unfortunately, when you come back to the Women's National League, there's still stark gaps in those areas, you know, kind of in the additional backroom staff that make the difference. Like, you know, when you look across all the Gaelic sports, you know, even Limerick hurlers, like, they give massive credit to the backroom staff. I think they had a photo of them when there was probably 25 backroom staff. You know, it's insane. But that is, again, the difference between amateur and professional sport. It's the small finer details that are overlooked.
Or even between amateur and amateur.
I was going to make a point.
Amateur,
yeah, but the approach is totally professional, and all those backroom, they're all professionals. They're sorry, maybe some of them are volunteers, but certainly, like, a lot of people are actually getting paid for being involved with inter-county teams at that. In that case, I know that there are counties out there who don't pay anything to their physios and their strength and conditioning people, but most counties are, and that's why we see that it costs several $100,000 to run a successful inter-county team at the moment. There was one other thing I wanted to just ask you about, Ciara. You are a doctor, I think. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm a medical doctor.
So in the middle of all this, of like playing football for Ireland, playing basketball for Ulster, playing football for Donegal, you had time to finish a medical degree as well. I mean, come on, Ciara. This is kind of putting us all to shame here.
No, well, in fairness, I stepped away from the league for my last semester of college. So, you know, I'd done 5.5 years in UCD, balancing it with the league, and it was just all becoming a bit much. And the timing of it worked out. The league was changing from a winter league to a summer league, so I just took the last semester off just to kind of get over the line. And I knew I was going to go into a busy internship. So I actually took that whole year off from soccer and then went back to Gaelic. And, you know, on reflection, I think it was just all boiling up for me. It was too much. Sport was kind of, you know, something I always loved and put my whole heart into, and I think it was just coming to the phase of my career where it was something that I had to do, and probably internal pressures I was putting myself to keep it up. You know, my parents were so supportive of pretty much any decision I make, but at that stage I think it was, you know, it was mature, but it was a very hard decision to make, to walk away from it. But I think it's the best thing that I did. And, you know, I moved home to Donegal then. And as soon as my Gaelic career kind of, you know, I was having a lot of thoughts about soccer soon after going back playing Gaelic. And I joined Science Swifts there in Shelbourne, about 20 minutes away from my hometown in the Northern Irish League. And that was just probably the best decision I've made, because it just sparked that fire back in me. And, you know, straight away I was thinking of moving back to Dublin and getting back in the National League, and kind of set myself the goal of getting back in the women's national team. So yeah, like, it's, you know, it's just something I love. And now I'm a bit of a phony, but like, some of my friends who have been working in the front line now for the whole pandemic, like, I really huge credit to everybody. It's not easy, and it's not getting any easier as well. But at the moment, so I spent 2 years lecturing with RCSI, which was a perfect balance of soccer and work. And then now recently I'm just kind of doing some agency work. So at the moment I'm doing health clinics, so heart screening clinics, flu vaccine clinics. So, you know, yes, I'm a doctor, but I'm also, you know, can't compare me to my friends that are in the front line, because those guys are working extremely hard.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm glad to hear that you got lazy in your last semester and took it off playing football. It's like after 5.5 years of doing the two things. I'm really interested in this because definitely there have been sports, and there was a long trend for about 10 or 15 years where everybody was told, you got to give up sport for your leaving cert because it's going to be a distraction for you. It sounds like you didn't do that actually you kept sport going as long as you could.
I remember we came home from the World Cup, so it was kind of, I missed, I think, the first 4 weeks of school, my leaving cert year in September. And under 19s class, we missed the first trip away with the 19s. And I remember I got the itch after about 2 weeks. I was like, what am I going to do here? Like, I'm bored. So I went back playing basketball, Gaelic and soccer in leaving cert year. And I think we got to an All-Ireland semi-final in basketball, All-Ireland semi-final in Gaelic, and then we actually won the senior women's soccer All-Ireland final. And I do remember when it was getting close to leaving cert, I was like, what is going on? I'm doing way too much stuff here. But my parents they're just great. And I think, they probably would have intervened if they thought I was getting burnt out or stressed. But I was just super organized back then and kind of loved, when you're kind of that organized and in that routine, you just do it. You have 45 minutes here. Okay, just blast out my maths homework, that and different things. And I had great support systems. I had, my teachers were excellent. They'd give me stuff to do, or meet up with me for an hour or so after school. And it's funny, more as an adult, I think I find it hard to balance. I went back to do a bit of study at the moment, and just procrastination is getting worse as I get older.
That doesn't never get any better, I think.
No.
Once it's in you. But listen, Ciara, it's an incredible story. Thanks a million for sharing it with us. Best of luck this weekend, and congratulations on winning the league. It sounds like it was an incredible season, all told. And I think that something like a title race with the drama like that, where it flashes out immediately on social media, is the type of thing that's going to get people tuning into the league in more numbers.
Absolutely. And now, the Women's National League have 2 big games, or national team have 2 big games on in the next week or two. So this build-up of the cup and of the league ended in so dramatically. Many more people are aware of it. I went into the shops on Sunday, and half the back pages of the papers were covered in our game as well. So it's great to see, and I just hope it continues and increases as well.
Ciara, good stuff. Thanks a million for joining us. Cheers.
Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it.